Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry 10 minutes. All right, we'll be talking about trigonometry identities, and in this video, I'm gonna first start with the basics, just like a reminder. Please, if you've not watched my videos on trig ratios and its applications, I'm gonna upload videos on that. Then you have to go back and have a look at those trig ratios and applications and before you come here, because this is the advanced trig. Does that make sense? So I will just do a quick reminder in this video, just to remind us of what we've discussed about already. Then before we now dive deeper and try to see and solve more complicated questions. Okay. So the first one is, I talked about in that video, we talked about SOHCAHTOA. If you remember, SOHCAHTOA. I told you that is how you get the trig identities. So I told you that sine theta for SOHCAHTOA is opposite over what? Hypotenuse. Okay. I also told you that cos theta is going to be adjacent over what? Hypotenuse. I also told you tan theta is equal to opposite over what? Adjacent. Okay, opposite over adjacent. Also, other things I talked about in the previous trig identities, we talked about other identities like sec theta. So I told you sec theta is equal to 1 over what? Cos theta. Okay, or I can put it in the same format so that it'll be easier to remember. So I also told you, so the inverse of sine theta is cosec theta. So that means you can say cosec theta is equal to 1 over what? Sine theta. Now, the inverse of cos theta is sec theta. So 1 over, or I can put it this way, sec theta is equal to 1 over what? Cos theta. And also another one I talked about was the inverse of tan theta is what? Cot theta. 1 over what? Tan theta. All right. So another thing again, you need to know as well is there are other trig identities like not really trigonometry, but there are other concepts we talked about. We talked about that 180 degrees is equal to pi radian. Okay, that you need to be careful when solving with pi and when solving with degrees. So when solving in degrees, we're solving in radian. Like when you see the range is in pi, you should know that you're talking in radian. We also talked about Pythagoras theorem, where we said c squared is equal to a squared plus what? B squared. We talked about that. And I think the only one we talked about there, the last one we talked about was cos squared theta plus sine squared theta is equal to 1. Okay? And we talked about this and also applied it in solving several questions. Okay. Now, the next one I want to talk about is that I'm going to just introduce maybe one more identity here. I'll just introduce one identity, then maybe we can play around and remind ourselves about how do we get each of these values. But one thing coming to my mind now is that as we talked about cos squared theta plus sine squared theta, we can easily see if we can get one more identities from this. So let's say we have cos squared theta plus, we said sine squared theta is equal to 1. So if I decide to divide both sides by cos squared theta, so if I divide here by cos squared theta, divide here by cos squared theta, and divide here by cos squared theta. Okay? Now, remember also in the previous video, I also explained to you that sine theta, okay, divided by cos theta is equal to what? Tan theta. We talked about this in the previous video, so we can apply it here. Cos squared theta divided by cos squared theta will give you 1. Sine squared theta divided by cos squared theta is going to give you tan squared theta. And 1 over cos squared theta is going to be the same thing as 1 over cos theta squared. So that means it's going to give you sec squared what? Theta. So that means this is another identity that you should need to take note of, okay? So there's so many of these identities that you need to just go back, you need to review. It is important to remind yourself about all this, because when we're going to start solving different questions, we're going to play around with each of these identities, okay? All right, so also in finding angles, I also talked about how you get the first angle, the second angle, and you keep on adding. So I told you for sine theta, how do you get the second angle for sine theta? I told you it's 180 minus theta, okay? For cos theta, I told you to get how to get the second angle is 360 minus theta, okay? And for tan theta, it's gonna be theta plus or minus what? 180 degrees. Then also, I also explained in that video, I also told you that for sine theta, if this is in degrees, you can also solve this also in radians. So this is gonna be pi minus theta. So while for this to get a second angle in radian, it's gonna be 2 pi minus theta. And to get the tan, it's gonna be theta, so that is theta plus or minus what? Pi. So we talked about all this in the previous video. So like I said, it's just an introduction, just to remind us of what we've discussed already. All right. Okay. Just to be sure that we can solve questions related to this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give an example, just one example, just to remind us. Then we'll go to another topic. Is that okay? Just an introduction. All right. So let's say we have cot x to be equal to 3, and I ask you between 0, x less than 720 degrees. Okay. And I'm asking you to find x. So just like we said in the previous slide, we said, cot should be 1 over what? Tan x, okay? So we can write this again as 1 over tan x to be equal to 3. Like I said, in all my examples, try as much as possible. If you think you know it, just pause the video, try solving it, then come back and see if you get the same thing. So apply the laws of inverse here now. It's going to be tan x will be equal to, because if you swap the left-hand side, you have to swap the right-hand side. 1 over 3. Is that okay? Now you've gotten that, so we can now get x now. X is going to be the tan inverse of 1 over 3. And when you press your calculator, this should give you 18.3 degrees. 18.3? I think 18.43 degrees. Okay? Now, this, why we're using degrees is because the range is in degrees as well. And I talked about that when the range is in degrees, definitely you're working with degrees, all right? If the range was in pi, definitely you then have to work with what? Pi radian, okay? So now we've gotten the first angle. So the first angle is 18.43. Now, how do you get the second angle for tan? We talked about for tan is theta plus or minus 180. So you use plus 180 when you're going in the positive direction. You use minus 180 when you're going in the negative direction. So because we're going in the positive direction, it's going to be plus 180. So it's going to be 18.43 plus 180 degrees. And this should give you 198.43. Now, remember I told you when you've gotten the first angle and the second angle, now how do you not get, so this is how to get the second angles, right? Now, how do you get the other angles? So the other angles, I explained in the video, to get the other angles, you need to keep on adding 360 or subtracting 360. So it's gonna be, other angles will be plus theta, plus or minus 360 degrees. So basically, it's other angles, so you're adding 360 degrees to the first and second. Okay, so to all the first and second are new angles as well. So all new angles that are coming up for the first angle, second angle, you keep on adding 360 degrees to each of the angles, okay? You keep on adding 360 degrees to each of the angles. And please, you need to make sure you review the videos on this, all right? So that means we've gotten the first angle and second angle. Now to get the third angle, we're gonna be adding 360. So it's gonna be 18.43 plus 360. And that should give you 378.43. Now to get the fourth angle as well, you add 360 to this. So it's going to be 198.43 plus 360 degrees. And that will give you 558.43. Okay, and that is that for that. All right. So you will see that that's how the question will keep on getting. So for this answer now, for this question, the answer should be 18.43, 198.43, 378.43, and 558.43. And that will be the answer for this question. All right. Okay. I think that'll be that for that. So please go back. This is just a reminder video. It's not that I'm trying to explain the concept. I have a video on that. So just go back and have a look at it. So now I'm going to go straight up to the addition formula. Okay. And let us see how we apply these concepts to that. All right. All right. If you have any question, feel free to drop it in the comment section, or you can send me an email and I'll get back to you. All right. Thank you very much.